The following production is brought to you by the Talkin Buds Leafs Show.
Here we go. Talkin Buds Leafs Show post-game edition coming at you after the Maple Leafs defeat the New York Rangers 4-3 at Madison Square Garden and return to the top of the Atlantic Division not 4 days, about 4 days after we had an absolute spaz on this podcast about the state of this hockey team. And shortly after that, they rattle off 3 straight wins. I think we should start this episode by addressing the elephant in the room, Ryan. We were ready. We were ready to just drive this 18-wheeler off the cliff on Sunday. And now here we are on Thursday. They've won 3 in a row and are back at the top of the division. How are you feeling right now about the state of everything in this hockey team, given the week that we've just endured?
Well, that's just what this team has in store for us in 2025. And what they've done since the calendar turned is they're going through this weird stretch of lose 3, win 5, lose 3, win 5, look awful, get it back on the rails. Look awful, get it back on the rails. I mean, I was kind of joking when I said 18-wheeler. I wasn't serious when I said that, but I mean,
I was in the driver's seat. I had my foot on the gas, and I was taking the 18-wheeler over the cliff on Sunday.
They too much of a buffer zone for it to be an 18-wheeler, but I mean, it's nice that they've come back. They've won 3 games in a row. They beat a good team. They beat a couple teams that they should have beat. But overall, it's not like I'm feeling a lot better about everything. It's just guys are playing a little bit better through this 3-game stretch. I think the top line has played a lot more time in the other team's end and actually have done a good job of cycling the puck around and having some ozone time. And then a night like tonight, that second line with McMann on it, they looked like that was arguably the best game of the year for Bobby McMann, William Nylander, and John Tavares.
Yes, agreed. I think you're right. I think it's all part of just what being a Maple Leaf fan is. And I think when they go through a stretch like they went through last week, it's hard. The reaction is so intense because it's 9 years of it. That's why I think everyone, myself included, kind of goes off the rails, because this team has just hurt you so many times that when they show signs of heading in that same direction, it's almost like a form of PTSD. But then they come back on Monday against the Calgary Flames, and apparently, I think I read this correctly, that Austin Matthews spoke earlier that day to the team and sort of addressed the team and said that we need to be better. And he certainly has been better through the last 3 games. That top line has been sort of returned to form. I agree with you. I thought tonight against the New York Rangers, that second line, man, if we can get a performance like that out of those 3 guys come April, that's exactly what you're looking for. They were talking about it during the intermission panel. Bobby McMann's got to stay there. Like, love you, Craig, but I think we're done with the Pontus Holmberg as the second line winger.
Well, that was the first game McMahon's had since the 4 Nations that he's kind of come back to life a little bit, and he got back on the scoreboard, which was nice for him. But yeah, tonight was the first night where I was actually watching John Tavares play hockey, and I was thinking he actually doesn't look that slow. No. I thought they were defending well. I thought they turned pucks over, and they were really quick to go on the rush after they turned those pucks over. And those guys were just absolutely flying tonight. And you can't expect that every night, obviously. But yeah, if they can somehow keep that line together and have McMann stay in the top 6, and hopefully they just get more effort out of that line, fingers crossed, because that's really going to help them.
Agreed. Tonight was as good a road game as they've played all year, in my opinion. Like there were little hiccups.
They scared me in the first period there.
Yeah, there were little hiccups like Panarin's left all alone and he ends up scoring. And there's definitely things defensively still that they need to clean up. But overall, I know tonight was about Tavares getting 2 goals and Bobby McMann and stuff. I can't say enough about William Nylander tonight. I thought he was excellent. He was engaged physically. And that's not something you always see with Willie. Like Willie is an offensive force. And whenever he gets an opportunity, he usually buries it. But I thought he was in hard on pucks tonight. He was winning battles along the boards. I thought, like, I'm watching him and I'm going, this is the William Nylander we need in a playoff series. This is the best version. I'm not even necessarily worried about him getting his cookies. If he can be difficult to play against like he was tonight, that's just another element to his game that you don't always see.
Yeah, he's the goatest cheater in the NHL of offense. And tonight he kind of just went, I'm not going to cheat as much. I'm going to hang back more on my own end and put in more of an effort in terms of winning battles and trying to turn the puck over, opposed to just looking for that sprint breakaway pass that he's really great at. But if he could just have that effort more in his own zone like he did tonight, then fuck, sky's the limit for the guy.
All right, I'm going to give you an opportunity to pat yourself on the back here. I distinctly remember back during training camp and at the beginning of the season, everyone was talking about what is the ceiling for Matthew Knies. And it was one of those arguments that you love where people are like, well, he wasn't a great goal scorer in college.
Yeah.
So, and just referencing the same thing with the 2 goalies. Everyone's just deciding that, like, well, they haven't played a ton of games. So that means they can't. Yeah. And tonight, Matthew Knies scores his 25th goal and joins Brady Tkachuk and Tom Wilson as the only players in the National Hockey League with 25 goals and 150 hits.
Yep.
Anytime your name is mentioned in the same sentence as those 2 guys, it's always a good thing. And I know that we as a fan base have contract fatigue. Like we hate talking about contracts and what guys are getting paid, but a huge thing that we're going to be talking about over the offseason is what Matthew Knies' next contract is going to be.
I got some advice for the Toronto Maple Leaf management. Give this guy the fucking bag.
Yes.
Like this is a player that they have not had in this era in terms of power forward and ability to put pucks in the net. And he's just getting started too. That's the best part. He's not a multi-year veteran here. This is really his second go around of playing full time in the NHL. And he's only getting bigger and he's only getting stronger. And I thought that narrative at the start of the year, which, I mean, I don't really blame people because it was true that he wasn't necessarily an offensive dynamo in college. But the one thing I will give Matthews and Marner credit for is they know how to take a guy on that line with them and make them have a 20-goal season. Like Michael Bunting is not the same player he was now as he was when he was playing with them. And at one point he was like touted to have a big contract. So it's just like, if you fit a guy with Matthew Knies' skill set on that line and he's young, he's getting bigger, he's better. It just made sense to me that he was going to break through and at least be a 20-goal guy. And now he's a 25-goal guy and maybe he'll get to 30. But
yeah, I was going to say, man, it's totally possible for him to get to 30.
Yeah, and he scored so many different ways. He scores in front of the net. He tips in pucks. He scored a couple beauties as well. So he's just, I mean, there's nothing really, there's no downside to his game, really. I guess he wished he had a little more speed, but for the role he plays, like, just give this guy whatever he wants, man. Obviously, he's not going to be what the top guys are going to be making, but I don't know what the reasonable number is, but they're going to have to get it done regardless. So I don't know. I'd be interesting to see what that number actually is.
I'm thinking, to me, it's less about the cap hit and more about, is he going to sign 8 years or is he looking for a bridge deal?
Oh, he's a bridge boy, probably.
Yeah, I think he's a bridge guy. Because I think he's the type of guy that, okay, I'll sign a 2-3 year deal with you. And then for maybe a little less money. And then in 3 years, I'm looking to get paid.
He also needs to, but at the same time, if I was his agent, I mean, this guy is promising to have a great NHL career, but you also have you have no idea what can happen tomorrow. So maybe someone gives him the opposite advice to say you might want to cash in for the longest period of time right now while you're maybe at your highest. Because you could also project him not getting any better than this in a way, but he could also get better. But I just think the element he brings to this team and for his age and what you see in the future, I mean, and it's RFA deal too. So I don't think he's making 10 million here, but what are we talking about? Like 7?
Yeah. Well, I mean, 7 if he signs with term. I think if he takes a bridge, I'm thinking it's 5.
You gotta pull up some comparables for him because it's it's again, weird. I don't even know where you start with that one.
We're not going too far down this road. This is for another date, but it's going to be interesting to see how he approaches it, man. Like, is he going to approach it like the other guys here who are like, no, I want like high end of what I think I'm worth, because that's the tone that's been set here when it comes to signing contract extensions. So that's going to be a really interesting narrative to follow. This NHL season has been as predictable as a puck rolling on its edge. No one knows where it's going. But that just means there's time for your favorite team to figure things out and games left for you to get in the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL.
It's super easy for first-timers to get started. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app, select your team, and place your first bet. And if you're new to DraftKings, listen up. New customers bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets instantly.
Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ice.
You and I love commenting on what the Toronto sports media talking points are. And in the last 2 days, there's been 2 main talking points. The first one, I'm going to go with this one first because I think the next one we'll talk about a little more. People are upset that Scott Laughton is on the 4th line in the sense that we gave up a lot for Scott Laughton, and he's on the 4th line. Your thoughts on this? I genuinely am feeling bad for Scott Laughton. I think this has been a really tough transition for him, and it does suck to be in the position where you give up a first-round draft choice, and he's playing on your 4th line.
Yeah, this goes, listen to our episode before the deadline where we just debated if giving up future assets is worth just adding a guy like Scott Laughton, who they've added every single year, who ultimately never made a difference. And now a couple of games in, I don't even notice him out there half the time. And I do feel bad for the guy. I think it's really hard to integrate into a new team, especially if your style, like I don't know, you've seen guys come in here and not be able to make a smooth transition. It's tough, and it is what it is. They gave up a first-round pick. There's still a lot of time for him to make that worth it. You know what it takes to make that worth it?
A big game in the playoffs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You took you traded a first-round pick for a flyer, for a guy who's supposedly a great character dude who's going to play in your bottom 6 in hopes that he can match up against somebody, score you a big goal, do something. But if he's not playing at the top of his game right now and he's not integrating well, then I don't really see how Berube can, like, you just put him on the 4th line, let him get his minutes, whatever. And if he fits in on that, like, I already think their 4th line looks way better than it did pre-deadline. Like, there's no more Ryan Reeves. They got a lot of options with Yarncroke back. So if he can kind of fit in that mix and kind of get more acclimated, and if he's in the lineup in April and he can just do something, anything, then that first round pick's going to be worth it to me. But yeah, I I can see why people are kind of like, I don't really get it because he's on your fourth line. He gave a first round pick, but I don't know. It is what it is. It's done. Let's just give it time and let's see if this guy can show up in a big moment because then it'll be worth it at that point.
The second narrative, we've got a goalie controversy on our hands, Ryan. That's all we talked about all day. Both radio stations today, it was goalie controversy. They start the broadcast on Sportsnet tonight off with Kipper and Bourne and Elliott commenting on who's the game one starter. We still got it. We still got a ways to go here. I do think that Joe Woll, I don't think Anthony Stolarz has been bad. So I want to say that off the top. But he hasn't been lights out like he was for the first half of the season.
Yeah, before he got hurt. And it has opened the door for Joe Woll a bit here. And I think if you gave the Leaf brass some truth serum, they want Joe Woll to be their guy. You don't agree with that?
I don't think they care at all. I really
it's like
don't.
Whoever's
I don't
going
think
to get in there and sub a puck. Yeah.
And I mean, we always joke that these people have to go on the radio every day and talk about this team. And we know I could barely do it twice a week. So you got to run. You got to run with what you have. So I totally get it. I never really, if people do believe in the narrative, it's like, you got to pick a guy with 10 games left and let him run with it. I don't believe that. I think that's just not it. I think it's going to go up to the actual playoffs and even in the first round series. You're going to have to make a decision game one based on who's playing the best at the end of the season. But if they go in game one and suck, you're going to the next guy the next night.
Yeah, 100%.
Whoever can win that first playoff game is going to be your guy.
Yes,
that's
agreed.
No game in the regular season, no stretch in the regular season is going to determine who the guy is. Whoever they announce game one, if they lose, the next guy is going in. I think. I mean, that's not a guarantee, but I would kind of think whoever wins that first playoff series, I think that's your goalie you're going to roll with.
They've got 2 games against the Panthers and 1 game against the Lightning. Do you think a goaltending performance, would you put any stock into so let's just say Joe Woll plays against the Florida Panthers and he plays well, or plays against Tampa and he plays well. Do you think that will influence the decision of who starts in game one?
Yeah, I think every game matters in the regular season to decide who you're going to pick game one, but I just don't believe in ultimately saying this is our guy. It's just like the guy could change like that, like in a snap of a finger. So I do think it's very important for these guys to play well against good teams, especially Stolarz. He's 0 for 2 against Florida this year. He hasn't been able to get it done. So I think in that game, you go back to Joe Woll. Joe Woll played very well against Colorado Avalanche, but I think both of them have played kind of equally the same since Stolarz has been back. They haven't been awful, but they also haven't stolen them games like they did at one point during the start of the middle of the season. So
yes,
I mean, I think just one good game right now. Like before the Colorado game, I guarantee everyone was still Stolarz, and then Woll has one good game against one good team, and all of a sudden everybody's flip-flopped and it's turned into a whole different thing. But whoever wins that first playoff game is going to be the guy.
Last thing I want you to comment on here. The power play is now 6th in the NHL.
Oh my God. I was looking at that and I don't watch enough power plays around the league. You're telling me that there is that many teams below them in power play percentage? That's how bad power plays are around the NHL.
I know.
I mean,
I know.
But the problem with this
shocking.
team, the problem with this team is just the timing of the power play goals. It's every year they're always at the top of the league in terms of percentage, but they could just never score the power play goal when they need the power play goal. That's the problem with the power play.
Your mind is blown that there are 26 worse power plays.
Yeah, I could not do that math in my head.
Yeah.
I did not want to butcher that.
Hey man, listen, you're an entertainment producer. You're not a mathematician.
No, absolutely not.
But why do you think the power play is clicking all of a sudden? I got 2 words for you, man. Austin Matthews.
Yeah.
That's to me, that's why. He's just turned it up a notch and it permeates. This is what I want to say. I'm going to let you dive into the specifics of the power play in a second, but this is what I want to say. If you took a shot every time I've said set the tone on this podcast in the last 3 weeks, you'd be absolutely wasted at the end of every episode. On Monday, Austin Matthews set a tone. He's the leader of this team, and everything else has fallen into place, and they've picked up 3 straight wins. They've actually, like the Colorado game is a perfect example. They've gotten some bounces and things have gone their way, but he came out, he set a tone, he took the team by the reins and said, we're not losing games like this right now, and look what's happened. They've rattled off 3 wins in a row. So to me, that has been a huge reason why the power play is all of a sudden much improved.
Yeah, I don't know if I can get into any specifics. I just think they're in the stretch where, I mean, if you just look, I just mentioned it before, if you just look at the percentage every single year, they're always in like the top 10. They're always getting it done. So I think they're just in a stretch now where they're putting pucks in the net. But ultimately, I'm never going to feel confident about it until I see it come through in the clutch. This is great right now that they've kind of turned it around a little bit, but let's see it when it actually matters. That's where I'm at with this team.
What do you think of having William Nylander in the OV spot?
I love it. That's been my plan all along. You have an elite left-handed shot and you have an elite right-handed shot. Just feed him and let him blast away. I don't get what this isn't rocket appliances here. Like we're just shoot. Just you have 2 of the best shooters in the league. Just feed them. Feed them one tees. I don't understand what was so hard about that. We're worried about bumper guys, and they rely too much on traffic in front of the net, which I know is important in the playoffs. But it's just if you're looking for a play to be made, you've 2 of the top goal scorers in the league. Let them fire away.
There are some people that are really against the idea of having a 5-forward power play in the playoffs. Do you think that matters at all?
I don't know. They've been going with it for a long time now.
And also, their special teams have been so fucking bad.
Yeah,
in the playoffs.
I don't even care anymore. Just do whatever you think's going to work. I really don't care.
Agreed.
They are prone to giving up the shorthanded opportunity, but so is every team, though. Like sometimes you're going to be over aggressive and you're going to make a bad play, and a team's going to get a shorthanded breakaway going the other way. Your goalie's just got to save you at that point. But I don't have at this point. I've thrown my hands up in the air with this power play. I don't get it. I've never gotten it. It never works when it's supposed to. I don't know. Just you got to try everything at this point.
Agreed. All right, buddy. We're gonna get out of here. That does it.
I want to give some players some props before.
Okay. All right. Never mind. We're not gonna get out of here.
We always shit on so many people, so I'm gonna give a couple of guys props. I think
hold that thought, ladies and gentlemen.
I think the first guy I want to shout out is Simone Benoit. I think this guy catches a lot of flack for just being that 6th defenseman, because there's nothing this fan base and me and you love more than just ragging on a 6th defenseman, and they're never good enough, and we're always looking for a new option, and we're always looking for something better. I think this guy's been a weapon for them for a couple games now. He's gotten a couple points. He's always in there physically. He's never backing away. He'll drop the mitts if he has to. He's throwing Superman punches. He's kind of a rat. I'm
telling you, he's everyone's like, well, you maybe Phil Myers. No, I will take it to the bank that Craig Berube will have Simone Benoit as his 6th defenseman.
I would have him too.
I start the playoffs.
The only thing that I've seen that Myers has over him is when he does have the opportunity to shoot the puck. It seems like he does have a pretty good slap shot, but it just hasn't been effective enough. I just think if I was Berube, I'd also play Benoit. He has all the attributes. He's a dog out there. I think he's as good as a 6th defenseman as you're gonna find right now. I have no problem with him at all. I think he's played very well, and I think he needs a little bit of props. And then the other guy is Jake McCabe. I think this guy's been fucking unbelievable the past 2 nights. He is all of a sudden he's just an offensive defenseman. He's just in getting shots, making passes. He set up Tavares for the first goal. He had that power move against Colorado where he went in on a backhand. And I think this guy has just been very dynamic, and he's played extremely well over the past couple games.
He and Chris Tanev are the most effective shutdown defense pairing they've had in this entire Shanahan era. I won't be taking any questions on that take.
I kind of shit on him earlier in the year, being like, I don't think he's like worth the money or whatever. And is he a number one defenseman? No. Is he an ideal number two defenseman? No. But last couple of nights, he looks like their number one defenseman.
He and Tanev gel really well. I thought they did a really good job against McKinnon's line against the when they played the Avalanche on Wednesday. Like they're a great defense pairing. Brandon Carlo has also really settled in nicely. Brandon Carlo is the classic. You don't really notice him on a shift-to-shift basis.
Absolutely.
And that's what you're looking for in a shutdown defenseman. He also, I'm sorry to keep picking on Mo, but he has a Morgan Riley, another dash tonight. Like he's fighting uphill with Morgan Riley as his defense partner at this point, and I think he's settled in really, really nicely.
Yeah.
And then with adding him, you've pushed OEL down to the third pair with Benoit, and that's where OEL excels at this point of his career. That's where he excelled when he was in Florida, and I think he had a little phase there. He started the year really hot and then kind of cooled off and struggled, and now I think he's cast in the right spot, and he's doing, dude, this, like, you take a look at this defense core. Brad Treliving in a year, almost 2 years, has assembled a way better defense core of 6 guys than Kyle Dubas could have ever dreamed of assembling in his entire tenure as GM of this team.
Yeah, I'll always come on here and give shit to the top guys when they're not playing well, but I will say that this is probably their best defense core they've had in this era for sure, in terms of just having solid guys in all their spots, and just there's not really a guy right now who I'm looking at being like, you're not an NHL defenseman.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're all playing very. I know that Morgan Riley, there's more to be desired, but I think for all 6 dudes, you're kind of looking at it being like, this isn't Cale Makar, but it's a pretty solid group they've put together.
100% agree. All right, buddy, we're going to get out of here. We'll be back in our usual time slot on Sunday morning. The Leafs play Saturday night. Saturday night's a bit of a trap game, I think, because, they've won 3 in a row. They're feeling pretty good about themselves. I think they're going to get a night off in Nashville, and then they got to show up and play a hockey game on Saturday night. So I would not be surprised if the first 10 minutes... Now, the Nashville Predators are awful, but I wouldn't be surprised if the first 10 minutes of that game on Saturday night are a bit ugly while they try and find their legs after absolutely flooring it in Nashville on Friday night.
Yeah, we'll see.
We will see. If you'd like to join us for that on Sunday morning, hit the like and subscribe button below. We've had a ton of engagement and new subscribers over the last few weeks. We really appreciate all of that. If you're listening to the audio version, please do the same. Remember, we are heading towards the playoffs, which means post-game shows. We'll be doing a post-game show after every single Leaf playoff game.
Spread the word. Tell your friends.
We really appreciate it. We will see you guys on Sunday.